Welcome to Unfiltered Summit Sisters. I'm Gina.
And I'm Julia.
We are two ride-or-die best friends who are paving the path for what true, authentic relationships look like.
We're facing hardships head-on, having real, uncensored conversations, supporting each other's growth, and shining a light on true, raw healing.
We are navigating the world the best we know how.
Having a hell of a time doing it.
Laughing every step of the way.
Through the rain
and sunshine.
This is Canyon Culture. Welcome back to Unfiltered Summit Sisters. We are up in the canyon and there is all of this beautiful snow. We've got a fresh layer on top.
It's weird because it's like pretty and then you step on it, it's like got a crunchy layer in it.
Right. And and occasionally like we found a good spot to pack some snow down and sit, but like when you step into it back there,
it's needy.
We didn't bring snowshoes, so
we could.
Next time we could. We
don't
own any yet, but we can steal them from mom and dad. I mean, borrow.
Same thing.
One thing I think it is really cool about the snow that you were talking about earlier is how it sits on all of the trees.
It's my favorite.
It's so magical. It makes me think of Narnia.
It's like a topic we talk about all the time. Like, it's Narnia.
It's Narnia. But one thing that's really cool, I've got this tree behind me right now. I don't know how much of it you guys can see, but we'll post a picture of it. And it has so much snow on it that it's bending all the way over to the ground almost.
Well, if you look, the stump of it, like the base of it, is up on a hill and it is bending over past itself. It's not broken. It's holding up the snow.
Yeah.
And it's touching the ground on the other side.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. And it's like meant to do that. It's like built to do that.
Right.
Some of them break when they're old and injured.
It was their time. But I'm like looking at it, I'm like, okay, God, what is the lesson here? Because I feel really relatable to the tree.
Homeschool mom.
I am. I'm like, how do we get a lesson out of this? I feel really relatable to the tree, right?
No, it's a good point.
All of the snow is like life.
Yeah.
Weighing me down, right? But if you have the correct support,
you wait it out.
if you have the correct support, eventually seasons change. Eventually the snow melts away. Eventually life gets lighter and easier, and you stand back up again till winter comes.
You do it all over again.
Yeah, I just pulled that out of nowhere. So, the end. You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Homeschooling with Julia. This is school with Miss Julia.
Oh my gosh, something I've been thinking about lately is the different seasons of motherhood that I've walked through, that we've walked through, and what that has looked like in different seasons. So I want to call this one Embracing the Chaos.
Oh yes, because parenting is chaotic.
No matter how many kids you have.
Right.
It's chaotic.
You can have a dog and it can be chaotic.
Right. And the way that I parent today is so very different from the way that I parented 3 years ago, from the way I parented 16 years ago. I'm not old enough for that, but apparently I have a 16-year-old, so.
It's weird when you're 21.
Right, I know. I don't know how that works, but it does.
Well, I parent different kid to kid.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter. Like my season with Thomas in general is different than my season with Russell.
And my older ones mention it. They're like, you never would have let us do that when we were their age. And I'm like, sorry, y'all were the guinea pigs.
You were the first pancake.
I'm the oldest too. I was also a guinea pig. You'll survive.
Yeah, but resilience with all of it.
Yeah. So before I had kids, I was a control freak. Shocker.
Because you're not now?
I'm way better.
Okay, sorry. Just asking.
Way better. I was a control freak. I needed, and especially with like cleaning and laundry and like, I thrived in being in a super clean environment all the time.
Yeah. Like sterile clean? Or like picked up clean?
No, like I mopped my floors every single week. I wiped baseboards.
You wiped baseboards?
I wiped baseboards.
I have to now because it's just...
We never had dirty laundry that piled up, ever, because I was on top of it.
Was it, you said before kids?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I had a baby and God was like,
watch this.
Good luck. And apparently I'm so much of a control freak that it took 6 children for God to finally help me with my controlling issue.
So does that mean
he gave me 1 kid and he was like, nope, that's not enough. Give her another one. He gave me 2 kids. He was like, nope, keep going. 4 kids. Nope, we're not there yet. 6 kids. He was like, we're there.
We'll see how she does.
She's
so
doing
does that
better.
mean that I only have 4, which means like My controlling got taken care of earlier than yours?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
You're less of a control freak than me. But it's so funny because when I was a younger mom, I wanted to control everything, and not just, we joke about the cleaning and the laundry, which I very much did want to control.
Yeah.
But it was everything down to, where we were going, what we were doing. I wanted, what the kids were wearing. I wanted them to look really well and presentable. I wanted to look well and presentable. Everybody needed to have good behavior. I was worried about other people judging me as a mom anytime we were out in public. Just all these different things that in the end didn't matter.
Well, do you think that's part of,
Didn't
like,
matter.
to me, I'm hearing like a lot of codependency because you're trying to control other people's views on you, that your kids looking put together meant you
Right.
were a good mom.
Right.
And that
Or
everybody
we
could see
got to
that.
be potty trained by 2.
Right.
Right. And none of it mattered. We need to read, but we need to read by a certain age. No, it doesn't matter, because guess what? Nobody has gone into, I don't know, middle school, high school, wearing a diaper or not being able to read.
Sorry if it's you that has. Somebody's listening, they're like, I did. You're still welcome here.
You're the oddball, but you're still welcome.
You're still loved. We'll still validate you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now I'm at a place where I, for the most part, let's be realistic, unfiltered, for the most part, I really enjoy being a mom and where I am at with parenting. There is way more enjoying my kids, making memories, spending time with them than there is training and controlling and making sure that the dishes are done correctly and the bed is made correctly and grades are perfect, and those things are not near as important as they used to be.
So what is important then? Like, what is it? So if your efforts went from controlling, where are your efforts going?
It reminds me of the phrase that Dad said, life is meant to be experienced, not controlled. So I am much more in a place of just being able to experience my kids.
Yeah.
Being able to experience motherhood, enjoy things, make memories, and not be so worried about every little detail and about their outward behavior and I'm not worried about all of those things anymore, right? Yeah. God created them exactly who they are supposed to be, and no matter what I do, it's not going to change that. They are who they are supposed to be. They have everything that they need already in them. So I get to just enjoy them. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't discipline or I don't train.
Right.
But we deal with what we need to deal with quickly, and then we move on. So the majority of what we are doing is enjoying, is making memories. Discipline when needed, but we make it quick. We deal with what we need to deal with, and we move on.
Relationships are what's important.
Yes.
So that's a lesson I learned through my kids' school, and especially once I became a single mom, and my time to be able to be with them and help them went out the window. And when I was watching me stress over kids not getting homework done and like, I don't know, I would stress. I'm like, oh, we got to do homework. We have to do this. And I would stress about it.
Right.
And I was like, I don't need more things.
Yeah.
And so at one point I was just like, my relationship with this child is so much more important, and the only time, because I have limited time, because at that point I think I had 3 jobs that were taking up so much of my time. The only time I interacted with that child was to gripe about school.
Right.
And I was like, no.
Doesn't feel good.
I need a relationship with this child. So I told him, I was like, you're old enough at this point. It is your responsibility to do your schoolwork.
Yep.
That's your responsibility. So if you're going to go in and I'm not going to hound you anymore about it. It's your responsibility. And I told him, I was like, your schoolwork affects you. It doesn't affect me. I am here to help you. I'm here to coach you, but I am not going to make you do anything.
Right.
This doesn't affect me in the way that, like, I'm if you're going to be behaving poorly and hurting people and hurting me, I'm going to step in.
Right.
And I'm going to go, absolutely not. But this is your future. What do you want it to be? And I know that, 4th and 5th and 6th grade aren't a big deal, but I'm giving him that. And what's awesome is he had 1 semester after that where he didn't do great. And I was like, hey, what are you going to do better next time? He's like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. I was like, hey, yeah, figure it out. And it just clicked. And so he still has a hard time, but he's accountable, and our relationship is great. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have the time to stress about schoolwork. I have time to stress about if you're a good person. Right. I stress about, are you being kind? Are you being loving? Are you being accepting? Are you being generous? Are you a good person?
What is your character?
Because when we die, we take our knowledge, but who we are is also super important.
Right.
And if you're the kind of person that goes through school and you're not going to AP Physics, God's not going to be like, well, really sucked. But if I'm raising kids who turned out to be, raping little thieves, that's a problem.
Big problem.
That's a big freaking problem. So I'm putting my efforts where it matters, where I'm going, how were you kind today?
Yes.
How did you show up as a representation of Christ?
Right.
Those are my goals.
And it looks different in different seasons of parenting. So it looks very different for my 6-year-old than it does my 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And my dad has always been huge on relationship over anything else in parenting. And so now I'm the oldest of 7. All of us are grown adults, and most people are living on their own. Some people come back for short periods of time.
We don't need to judge.
We don't need to get into that.
I've been there, okay?
He says that relationships are most important over everything else. And that is what he has prioritized. And it shows, because the 7 of us, no matter what we walk through in life, always come back to the parents because of our relationship with them. Because we know that no matter what mistakes we've made, it doesn't matter what it was, we can always go back to the parents, and we know that they are going to love and unconditionally support us. And so now as adults, we can go to him and say, well, even as teenagers, because parenting teenagers is very different. You're nearing the end of your parenting, I guess, training, if you want to call it, and developing those relationships and letting them go and experience the world a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more at a time while they're still under your roof. So I would have my dad, something that my dad says all the time when people come to him for advice, when the 7 of us, when one of his kids comes to him for advice, and even when they were older teenagers, this is what he said. When we would ask him his opinion or his advice, he would give it, and then he would say, but I respect your decision more than my opinion.
That's beautiful.
Which has stuck with me, and something that I want my kids to always know, that I respect your decision more than my opinion, because I respect our relationship, and I will unconditionally love you no matter what you choose to do.
That's what when you said that, that's what I felt. I was like, that's what unconditional love, because that's what God does.
Yes.
God says, here's all these things that you guys are going to be put in front of, and you get to pick.
Right.
And even if you pick the one that I don't want you to do, I'm still there with you. I am still there to walk with you. And if you stumble, if you fall, or if you're victorious, I am always by your side. And I think the more we can amplify, or the more we can duplicate how God is as a parent, the more we're going to be victorious as a parent. Absolutely. And that's exactly what your dad did. And I love that, because I want my kids, and I didn't get to have that when I was married, because I was the same way. When I was married, that control was very much so there with the same thing. Like, I controlled everything. I remember one time my sister's like, you should bring the kids over. Let's go do this. I was like, it's laundry day. And she's like, the laundry will be there tomorrow. I was like, but today is laundry day. She's like, right, but today is this. And I wouldn't.
Right.
I couldn't, I needed to control so many things.
Right.
And it kept us from experiencing things. And so now I still get, my house still is clean.
Right.
My laundry still gets done. My walls get wiped down more than before, because they're dirty boys.
Yeah.
But I don't have this feeling of control. I get to say yes. I say yes to my kids more. I think I've quoted this before, but there's a neighbor who, when his mom had passed away, somebody had asked her, it was a slower death, so people got to visit her, and somebody asked, what is one thing that, what's a regret or advice that you give? And she said, tell your kids yes more. And so just yesterday, Russell's like, can I have ice cream? And I was like, honestly, why not?
Right.
Me saying no is just being like, that's when I want to tell my kids no, I'm going, where is this coming from? A controlling space or a learning space?
Right.
So I talk to Russell a lot. I'm going, you and I both, because you have a sweet tooth like I do, we have to be careful with our sugar intake because it is bad for our bodies.
Right.
But sometimes ice cream fuels our soul.
Feeds your soul.
Sometimes it heals our mental illness.
It does.
And so I was like, and even when Thomas got his stitches, I had that same conversation. I was like, sometimes when we're sick, we have to feed our body good food,
right,
so that it can repair itself. But sometimes when we have big traumas like you just had, sometimes we need those Oreos. So as long as we keep that balance, we're good. And so anyway, that's one of my favorite things is I try and say yes to my kids more and think about when I tell them no, what is my reason for no? Is it a controlling reason, or do I have a lesson to teach them where I'm going, yeah, I'm going to say no because you're going real crazy with the sugar.
I love
and
that.
I need to step in.
Right. And there are times where we're putting those fences up or those guardrails of like, nope, come back this way a little bit. This is what we're going to do. Yeah.
It's guidance because they're not ready yet. And one of the lessons I love that I'm teaching my kids is I'm here to let you guys make mistakes under the safety of my roof.
Yes.
Because if you did this out there, that is jail time.
Going to jail.
When somebody comes by and bumps into you and your response is to punch them in the face, that's jail time.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to not go to jail because you're 11.
Right.
But also make those mistakes here and learn from them here.
Right.
And so there's just a lot more teaching instead of controlling. There's way more teaching, which I think as you, like if you think about your favorite teachers, they made, like you learned more and you connected with them when you had a good teacher who loved and cared for you. And that's what I think our goal is. Like that's, as parents, we're teachers. We're not supposed to be controlling.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of a quote that I heard, and I do not know who it was from, so I can't give them credit, but it was something along the lines of, rules without any revelation is just pure restriction, who nobody responds well to.
No,
and some of us,
I
don't know who, but some of us, when we're told not to press the red button, but not told why, we're going to press the red button because it looks fun.
Yeah. Well, and when I tell the kids, I'm like, what are our, like when we talk about rules, I also say, why do we have rules? And I say to protect us. When God gives us rules, quote unquote, God gives us rules, they're for our protection.
Yes.
We obviously still have free agency and we can choose to follow the rules or not.
Yeah.
But most of the all of the rules that I have, I'm going, this is to protect you. Because if you spill on my rug, I will end you. No, but there's more of just like, I don't want you walking at night because you're horrible at paying attention to cars.
Right.
We have a safe neighborhood. It's not that far of a walk from your house to mine.
It's going to be really inconvenient if you get hit with a car. We have to go to the hospital. I don't get to sleep tonight. Like, it's just really inconvenient. So we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. But I try, and that's another guideline too, is I'm going, if I'm going to make rules, I want to understand why I'm making those rules.
Absolutely.
Because life with kids is chaotic all the time. But I like the idea of embracing the chaos.
Yes.
Because it's more fun there.
It is.
Well, what is it? We're learning a lot right now that the more that we try and control our life, God's like, this is not.
Right.
This is funny.
Yeah.
That's not faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning to let go in all kinds of ways.
I had a sweet moment the other day with Jacob, who's 10. He came to me and he goes, Mom, can I talk to you? I was like, absolutely. Like, drop everything I'm doing, right?
Please do,
yes,
son.
absolutely. He's like, I'm having a rough day.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, thank you so much for telling me. Do you know why you're having a rough day? And he was like, no, I don't know. And I was like, well, thank you so much for telling me, because that gives me awareness of how you're feeling, right? And so
how awesome that he was able to recognize I'm having a rough day.
And then feel comfortable enough in our relationship to come to me and go, Mom, I'm having a rough day and I don't know why, which then allowed me to give him some extra grace and extra space. Right?
Yeah.
So I could see him getting frustrated with other kids, and I, redirected him to somewhere where he had a little bit more space.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then I had another story I wanted to share. One of my teenagers came to me, and I think it speaks to our relationship. She came to me and she goes, Mom, I really want to go to this school dance with my friend, but I'm sneaking in, because they're not supposed to bring people who don't go to the school.
Which I think is rude.
I know.
She's homeschooled.
And I said, okay.
Yeah, her school dances are a little different.
Yes.
That's making dinner in the kitchen, dancing with us.
Right. Her homeschool dances.
Let her go to the dance.
So, immediately something in my mom heart was like, okay, thank you for telling me. Thank you for coming and letting me know, because in reality, she was going to do that whether or not she told me.
Yeah.
She was going to sneak into that dance whether or not she told me she was allowed to or not allowed to. And so I'm glad that we had the kind of relationship where she came to me and said, Mom, this is what I want to do. This is the decision that I'm making. We went over, if you get caught, what that might look like and what the consequences might be. And she fully understood that. And I said, okay, I love you. Call me if you need me.
Right. I I love that. I love that because
And then I called my dad and I was like, Dad, am I a bad parent because I'm letting her sneak into a dance and I don't feel bad or guilty about it at all because she told me and that means we have a good relationship, right?
did he give you the validation?
So she's
you
not
needed?
going to be she's not going to be the leader of a drug gang in prison, right? Because I let her sneak into one dance, right?
Well, no, because she's able to explore these things and she's able to do it under the safety with
Yes.
you, and you're teaching her think these things through. You gave her guidance on it, and it's sneaking into a dance. She's not like, Mom,
Right.
I'm going to go rob a bank. And
That
you're
would be
like,
different.
listen, I don't have bail money, but like, best of luck.
Right.
Right. But I love that. I want that relationship with my kids where they're like, listen, like for us, like our beliefs are very strong with, premarital sex is not a great choice. But
Right.
if my kids are like, listen, I'm sexually active with my girlfriend, I'm like, are you safe? Are you
Right.
treating her well? Like, right? Like, you're going to make your decisions, but they know that I want them to know that I'm like, it's your life.
Right.
If I control it, what's going to happen when you leave my house? You're still going to do it. So if you're going to do it
Yes.
here, I get to guide you. So if you're going to make bad choices and you let me know about it, I can at least give you a little direction on how to pick up the pieces. Or
Yes.
if you're going to be sexually active, be safe with all these options that you may not know are problems.
Yeah. So, because I did not grow up that way. I grew up with incredibly strict parents.
Yeah.
So the second I turned 18 and moved out, I was like, I'm doing everything.
It's like the Amish,
I'm
right?
doing all of it because you kept me from it and you didn't tell me why. So obviously you're keeping me from fun.
Yeah.
And then I was pregnant at 18. So didn't go so great for me.
But that's the thing is like, it doesn't have to go to such lengths.
Right.
Of learning a lesson, but just knowing like my mom's got me no matter what.
Yes.
And I can come to her. So even today, I told the kids and I developed this whole thing where I gave them a code word. I was like, if you're at a friend's house or if you're somewhere and you're not comfortable, you don't like what's happening, or you
Yes.
just want to come home but you don't want to say something, you call or text me this code word that is super like no one would notice.
Yeah.
And I will take the blame. I'll be like, I need you home to babysit, or I need you to come do this, or I need you to come do that.
Yeah.
And I think that builds trust, and I think that builds a relationship with them where they go, no matter what, my mom's got my back.
Yep.
And again, it just keeps coming back to like everything keeps coming back to how God is with me.
Yes.
I am an imperfect child of his. I make mistakes all the time. And sometimes I go to him like, listen, I'm going to go do this thing that I know you're not super happy about.
Right.
And when it blows up in my face, I'm going to really need you to hug me. And he's like, great, Gina, I'll be here.
Right. There's this girl on TikTok who does videos like this, and she's talking to God about something, and God's like, this is not it, and she's like, I'm gonna find out for myself.
So I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to learn through experiences, but he never gives up on us.
Yeah.
And I think the more that I don't know, I love comparing that because like as a 37-year-old woman, my relationship with God is still and will ever be growing.
Right.
And as much as I can apply that to my kids, I think I understand him more, and I will
Yes.
learn how to go to God more. If I'm going, I want to be this kind of parent for my kids, I'm going to go, oh, that's how God is for me. Or when I see God show up for me in certain ways, I'm like, oh, I should do that for my kids too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love the awareness of it. And I want to always, I love talking to other parents and hearing all the different ways that they are creatively showing up for their kids. But in the end of the day, we have neighbors that we talk about often. And I love that their kids and their friends' kids are always at their house.
Yes.
Their kids, like their kids' friends move away and come back and like, we need to go visit them. And we need to go to the porch and hang out with them. And I'm like, this is it.
Right.
My parents did the same thing. My parents were that welcome, open arms. And I've got friends who call my parents mom and dad more than you.
You're talking about me.
I'm talking about you and like other like kids I went to high school with, right?
Right.
We had kids for Easter and we had kids for Christmas that would rather be at my parents' house because their house was not warm.
Right.
So we have people who are like, oh my gosh, tell mom and dad I said hi.
Right.
Or like when they come to visit, like, can we go see mom and dad? Right. That, and I think my parents I don't think they had conversations about like, we need to have this kind of home. They just loved and they connected with each of us and with our friends where everybody felt safe and loved there. And that's what I want.
Absolutely. Relationship over everything else.
Is that our next tattoo?
It's a long word to tattoo on.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We're not that big of people.
Yeah. I am grateful for where I'm at with parenting. I am just, the majority of what I'm doing with parenting is enjoying, is making memories and experiences. That is the majority of my parenting now. And it is so fun. And I I just love it. I freaking love it. I love being spontaneous. I love making memories, and they are so cool. I created really cool people.
My kids are the funniest.
They're funny. They're cute. They say the funniest things. They do funny things. They're just fun. They're so fun, and I am really enjoying every moment of it.
I am really grateful for your dad's little nuggets of wisdom, that his little one-liners, his advice that he has. There's so many times just over the last 2 years where sometimes you and I have phone conversations with him. Sometimes I don't know why you're having conversations with him without me, but whatever. But like, I just love that we walk away and we're like, okay, Dad said this. This is something that Dad says. And it's like, they're just short, sweet things that mean so much that I get to remember them. I'm like, oh, Papa says life is meant to be lived, not, or experienced, not controlled. Right. And that means way more.
Right.
And I just get to have these little phrases in my head all the time that come from him. And I'm so grateful for them because they have made a huge change in a lot of areas of my life for the better.
I love that.
Thanks, Papa.
You guys share with us, how has your journey in parenthood changed from when you first became a parent to wherever you're at now? What has changed? What has evolved? What have you let go of? Share with us just your different seasons.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unfiltered Summit Sisters.
Come join us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to get a sneak peek into our lives.
It's beautiful, chaotic, crazy, and fun.
What else would you expect raising 10 kids?
All the links you need are in the show notes.
See you next week.